So today is July 14th. We're actually standing outside of this older hospital. It's called St. Paul. It closed in 1926, I believe. And one of the notable things I'll tell you about it is that one of the last people to actually die in this hospital was Gaudi, the guy that was in the process of building parts of the Sagrada Familia. And here's the interesting part. This is the front of the hospital, but look what is straight down. A 180 there it is. So he was working on this, crossing the street, got hit by a trolley, and he was working on that. We did Sagrada Familia when we were in Barcelona about 2 weeks ago. So there's a video on that if you want to see it. But so he's working on that, gets hit by a trolley, is brought to this hospital, ends up dying. It doesn't open until 10, it's 9:30 now. So we're just gonna do some shots of this portion, but it looks like we're gonna spend a few hours here. We gotta be at the train station today to catch a train to Narbonne around 2:30. So one other thing I wanted to mention is that I might be pronouncing his name wrong, but Gaudi is the guy's name. Not only did he work on Sagrada Familia, but he also worked in that park that we were at. So if you watch some previous videos, we came through Barcelona from Italy, France, whatnot, and we took a ferry from Barcelona to Morocco, but then we took a ferry out of Morocco right into the Gibraltar area, and then we trained it back to Barcelona for a night. That's why I'm in Barcelona twice on this trip. But the first time I was here, we went to a park, big ornate park, and then we went to Sagrada Familia on the same day, and Gaudi, the guy that designed the art of that park, and the guy that was doing some of the design for Sagrada Familia, the big church, he's the one that died in this hospital. So it stopped being a hospital in 1926. It's a tourist thing now. It's got some excellent architecture. It's a tourist thing now. And I think it might have some history or some science stuff to it. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, I'm not sure if he had any hand in any of this design, but I'm sure I'll find out. So we just came into the first part after paying admissions. This first room would have been their emergency room. The structure itself was started construction in 1902 and finished completion in 1930. Gaudi passed away in 1926, so 4 years after he died. But there's a picture of the complex. One thing I thought was really interesting on how they did architecture back then and detail is they actually took time and they put these colorful tiles in the roof, skylights, real nice archways. But yeah, this would have been the area where the emergency room would have been. This rampway had a pretty soft grade. It was enclosed, but it was originally used for horse and carriages to move patients down here. Yeah.
And then I want you to look at these, because what I want you to see is...
So, by the way, this first room we were in is one of the wards where the patients were at. This is the second floor of the ward here. I wish there were some really good pictures of what it looked like when it was here. So this area of the ward where the patients would be in bed on either side, they made it into like an art gallery. And the little diorama I showed you had all those buildings that looked alike. Well, we're in one of those now. And I'm imagining all of them are pretty much the same design on the inside. Obviously, the science and the needs outgrew what this structure was able to offer medically, but artistically, historically, and for architecture, they just couldn't see just simply getting rid of it, so they repurposed it. Understandably so, they repurposed it. So this is the backside of the building that we entered in, the main building that fronts the streets, but they have a series in the diorama that was in an earlier video of these independent wards. That tunnel system, it actually runs like through the spine of this whole thing, and they branch off. So there's, wherever you see like these little domed cupolas is an individual ward. So there's one, there's another one. I think there's another one tucked right there, right about there. And then there's one on this side. So they're bilateral on each side of where that underground corridor would bring you. I mean, this is, yeah, you wouldn't destroy this just because the original function is no longer needed. And I also think that these little defilés, these little pit areas with these staircases, you could join that underground, almost like a subway for pedestrians. You could join that underground walkway through there. So one of the purposes in the video we watched on why they had these wards separate from each other was that they had and I can't even think of the word I'm looking for, but these middle areas, they weren't as overgrown as they are now, but there were these middle areas of gardens and stuff where they would have the patients relax. And probably wards were specific to maybe the need of the patient or the specialty of the service given the patient. And here's a couple of more wards, which is on my right-hand side. I wish I could do a really good video and give you a good perspective like the movie they showed us on how this was designed and laid out. So those are more wards. And then here's the backside of the building. And underneath it is the tunnel system that connects them all underground. You could join that tunnel system through these. If you wanted to get back into it, you'd go down these stairs and then you could join back into it there. And these are skylights. That allows lighting below into the tunnel system. So if you join it, you'd come into this main building, you'd come into the tunnel system here and keep walking forward. I think it probably terminates there, but it would connect to that ward, that ward, which I was just in, and at least this one, all underground. And like I said, this is all 1906. Olivia just called me over, she saw something, so there's one building that was opened. They say you spend about 2 hours here. This is like a little mini castle. Let's see what she found. Oh, wow.
This is what I thought the whole hospital was gonna look like.
Okay, this is kind of cool. So they're still refurbishing. This is kind of cool that they leave this open for exhibit. So early in the video when I showed you all that nice marble and polished area and I say, hey, this is where the patients used to be, and I'll zoom in, there's a rendition of what this ward and all the other wards would look like. Just something like you'd see kind of like in World War I era, where it's just one mass room with beds, and this one appears to be female. That looks like a heating element right in the middle of my screen. So this ward, or this picture's portraying an all-female ward. Whether it's this exact ward or not, I don't know. But they're all the same on the inside. Just happens to be the one that we went in was already all done. You can see where they put this netting, but you can also see where the original tile, I guess I can say mosaic work was. So I can imagine some of them fell into disrepair. I mean, this is quite a daunting task to restore something like this, even to maintain it and to keep it up. So it appears that the main architect under the direction of Dominique E. Montaner. So that, and I've seen that name a few times already. So I don't know who it is, and maybe some of you do. Let me sneak a peek in this rotunda thing. I have to go over a wall. Wow, very cool. It is nice that we have the opportunity. This is a travel day for us, actually. I don't really plan things on travel days, especially when we're taking the trains, but our train doesn't leave until 2:50, and this opened up at 10 o'clock, so we'll probably get out of here about 12:30. I don't know how much we're actually going to see, but this is a cool opportunity of something that I saw, but I wasn't really intent on going to, but Olivia and Uncle Doug saw it and wanted to come out, so I'm glad we came out here. I don't know how much more we're going to see or how different it will be, so don't know how much more video I'll do, but this is a really cool, oh man, actually it's really temperature cool right now. I'm in the shade with a really nice breeze, so I'm gonna sit here and enjoy this. If I see something different or something unique to share with you guys, I will throw it in the video. We just found another one that's open for exhibit, but it's very quiet in there, so I'm not going to do a lot of narrating. I'm just going to point and shoot, so enjoy. Looks like an old x-ray machine. Oh, I gotta send this to my brother Tony. Old x-ray machine. So it's me and Olivia and one other person, so yeah, that was an old x-ray machine. This hall is exhibiting a lot of equipment that would have been used. Oh yeah, Olivia just pointed out that Sagrada Familia, the big church we went to a couple of weeks ago, looks like it was being built around the same time this was. So this is the first ward we've been in. We can actually see the rotunda room on how it might have been back then, but it looks like this was for your wheelchair, maybe ambulatory patients come in like for a sunroom, possibly like a day room for activities, maybe sit down and have your meal if you're not eating your meal in bed. But let me show you a perspective on where this room is to the rest of the ward. Each one has one in the corner of their building. There's actually two. There's one here, and there's a rotunda room here. I don't know if you could see in it though. Oh, they made this one into a modern day bathroom. Or it might have been a bathroom back then, I don't know. So that's the room that we're in. So here's an example of the sleeping areas and the heating element in the middle. And then this is what I was trying to, this might be a better way to explain it. You'd enter here, underground tunnel system runs here, but it splits off. You can go into a ward, go up the tunnels, left, right, go to the wards, go to the wards. It might even connect these two up here. It looks like these two are in process of being built. But all these wards almost mirror each other. They almost look exactly, if not exactly the same to the main building, but that underground tunnel system is here. So they basically all connect like a hospital in a temperature controlled environment via tunnel, but they kind of stand independently as far as above ground structures go. Butane lighter, flamethrower thing. I don't think they had sterilization as of course they have it now either. Hey, I'm gonna pan around everybody, and as I do, I'm gonna read something from the little handout they gave me. I think it's very informative. The Sant Pau Art Nouveau site is a jewel of modernista architecture and one of the most important works of Catalan architecture. Architect Louis Dominic Montaner. Built between 1902 and 1930, it was home to the Hospital de la Santa Creu from 1916 to 2009. So from 1916 to 2009, people watching this, it's within your lifetime pretty much. 2009, they were actually still treating patients here. So some of the things that you saw that was being modified or might have been in disrepair, it might just be refurbishing it and making it more aesthetic. But it's amazing how much work they did since 2009. It was replaced by a more modernized hospital, probably not as aesthetic looking with the feats of architecture. But this is like, once again, you go to city planners, for my lack of knowledge of the entity in Spain that might decide the fate of this area, go to something to what I would know or think of as a city planner and say, hey, it's outlived its purpose, technology, and maybe even population, but what do we do with a architecture masterpiece? And there's a research center, it's a museum. I highly doubt this will ever go away. It's iconic. It's really, what's nice about sites like this that I do enjoy is that they don't have a lot of people. It's not overloaded. Having operated as a hospital for more than 80 years, the Art Nouveau site is now space for historical architecture dissemination. Moreover, some of the pavilions that make up the old hospital are now home to organizations with major social impact, devoted to the areas of innovation, health, sustainability, and culture in keeping with the foundation's purpose of the institution. The pavilions occupied by these institutions are not open to visitors. So some of these structures that are repurposed, we cannot visit because they're actually being utilized, which I think is great. I think it's great that they're actually able to preserve something like this for visitors and active academics alike. I just realized I wanted to come in here and show you guys this. This is still, now when it was built in 1906, this is another rotunda room. And in 1906, this very well could have been a day room where they sat and did activities, possibly just got some sun, like a sunroom. But the last use was an amphitheater surgical room for students. So students would stand behind this railing, and there's a video behind me that kind of depicts it. Students would stand behind this railing. The surgery was performed here in the center, and this video, which you may or may not be able to watch very well, shows what this room was last used for. So originally, it very well could have been a sunroom. But that's the last use. So you see the surgical tables there, and then the banister of where the students would stand. So I'll pan back around so you can see what it looks like today. Like I said, once again, this is very, very marble, so I guess they would be able to clean it very well. Once again, I'm not saying this was the purpose of the room when it was initially built in 1906, but it was the purpose of the room when it closed in 2009. We found our way to the main floor of the main building, and a lot of marble work, high ceilings. I would imagine this would be like the, I don't want to say admin area, but part of the main building. But one thing I wanted to point it out is what you can see from here is Sagrada Familia. Those are those towers we were in about 2 weeks ago. If you go back to that video, we were in those towers of that big church. So back then, probably as is now, a lot of cultural, spiritual influences. There'd be some religious symbology throughout this hospital that you'll probably catch. I might not even catch it, but you might see it in the videos. So this is one of the corridors. You can see some of the work behind me, but I'm going to bring the camera down. So I'm in a corridor that I don't know There's different rooms. Hold on, there's a description. Let me see if I can watch it. So they have these touchscreen panels, but when I touch it, it doesn't do anything. So that's probably to come in technology. But this is next to, this is facing the main street, and this is the corridor going back to the main building with that rooftop. It kind of reminds me of what we would have seen in some of the churches and chapels that we had been in. So they must have air conditioning in this one because it's cool, but it looks like this has all been modernized with some acoustic here. It dampens the noise because I'm sure I'd be echoing right now. But look at the, let me flip the camera around. You're not going to find anybody to build a hospital like this.
Sounds like the Pisa symbol.
Oh yeah. We keep seeing that. It was really prevalent when we were in Pisa. The flags in Pisa had that.
Do you think it means hospital actually?
So here's another room. So you can see that you get an idea what the floor square footage is. I can't give you a rough estimate, but wait till you see how high these ceilings are. So that's probably, if you see Olivia's reference, she's about 5'7". She's 5'7". Look how high this thing goes up. This is all for a hospital. Now here I can hear some active ductwork, and you can feel a breeze for AC. Obviously in 1906 they had heating elements but no air conditioning. So, okay, you know what this is? This must have been their church, because look how I see right in the middle. Okay, now it makes sense for the high ceiling, because if this was at capacity, you'd have a lot of BTUs or ambient heat from the people. And then there's a walkway where I imagine some sermons would be given there, I guess, maybe. And there's a description actually here of what this room was. Okay, what this actually says, it's a cross-section sketch of the meeting hall. So this is known as the meeting hall in 1907, and it shows a sketch of it. A meeting hall could be a multi-purpose room, but once again, I said earlier, there's a lot of religious influences throughout the churches here in Europe, so it's not odd to see that. And you got this huge painting here, and I really can't tell what it's a rendition of. And then another balcony area there. So looking at it, we're surmising that this is 4 or 5 stories high. A single floor, but the height that could encompass 4 or 5 stories. And then this is another interesting thing up here. Huge ceiling. To maintain probably the coolness, but they do have pumped air in here. I could hear it. So we're back in the tunnels again. And like I said, these tunnels run the spine of the courtyard, but when we entered in there, that first rope, we had to make our right that direction. Now there's another rope here, and the tunnel continues on. So you would come up to the different wards, and then the tunnels would continue on through here. And then you would go, so you can make a right, you can go straight, or make a left, and you're going into the different wards from the underground passages. But those are all roped off, so let me see here, I'll see what Olivia found. So I backed up just a little bit, so I want to show you, I got to the top of this tunnel. If I make a 180, that's the direction we originally came from in the beginning of the video. So if I came from that direction, came all the way up here, I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna make a left into this corridor, and then this wraps to the right. And there's one of the skylights we saw from up top. And then it wraps to the right and it goes up this corridor. These are some photos from 1961 to 1980. I have no idea what's going on in that picture. So it looks like they had a visit from the Pope on this day. Entrance, tunnel system again. And in this photo, you can see how they were simultaneously building this hospital area. And then off in the distance, they were simultaneously building Sagrada Familia, the big church I've been telling you guys about. We saw that picture earlier in one of the wards, women's ward. This looks obviously like the laundry here. And there's that student exam room that we looked at. This could be a mix between the laboratory and phlebotomy or pharmacy even. Okay, what's cool about this photo is there's Sagrada Familia and there's a roadway that goes up to the hospital complex. So there's the hospital complex right there. Whoops. There's Sagrada Familia right there. And then there's a Zeppelin right there. Yeah, there's some under construction, nothing in the area. Took some pictures of that on the outside. Here's them constructing like the front, and it looks like there's Sagrada Familia being constructed. So that's it. We spent about 2 hours here. We're taking off, going back to the hotel, getting our luggage, going to the train station for our next overnighter, which is in Narbonne. So I'll just do this as a standalone setting, just for this hospital alone. Because there's really not much we did since we got to Barcelona. Oh, we did the Coliseum. We did the bullfighting thing, but I already shot that one out to YouTube. All right, bye everybody.